So it comes down to the states in these silo pipelines. And so that's why I think the #1 job of a governor is to integrate these services. And getting governors to do that has not been as easy as it should be, given how smart and logical it is. But then again, how many smart and logical governors are there? I've met a lot of them, and there are a few that are smart and logical, but they tend to be the exception rather than the rule. They are, for the most part, very good campaigners and very bad managers. And they have the attention span of a flea. But there are some important exceptions. And I have not met your governor, so I'm not being, I've met Owens, Jim Owens.
Targeting anyone particularly.
Yeah, anyway, let's forget about it. Let's not be specific. But that is a characteristic that makes it difficult to convert a governor into a manager that will take this, and to Jim Edgar's great credit, in Illinois, he saw it and he acted upon it, and he fought it through the Senate and the House, and Barack Obama was helpful. Okay, now let's move on, because I don't want to violate my rule. There are 3 main principles here. One is integrating services around the whole family. You can't do something with one member of the family without dealing with the issues in the whole family. And secondly, you need to connect what you're doing with the community in which you're operating. A typical situation would be a government office and there'd be other private providers all around and they're not working together and barely aware of each other's existence. And then a third thing, something government never does, I shouldn't never, you never say never, rarely does, is measure outcomes. And outcomes are not the same as activities. Activities are how many counseling sessions did you have, how many people did you, how many checks for welfare did you, TANF did you cut, that kind of thing. Outcomes is does this person have a job, and has this person been able to hold on to this job for 6 months? That's outcomes. And it's difficult to get government to do that, but it is possible, and we did it in Illinois, and it can be done in Colorado. So, let me take a minute on integration. One of the best ways to do it is to combine departments. We did not have a good technology integration, but there is technology now that can do that. And our friends at Microsoft have it. And it's called middleware. And middleware will allow you to take the historic systems that are huge of the records of all the people. The thousands of people are on welfare. And each department has a separate folder. The department, Human Services has one, Mental Health has one, Alcohol and Substance Abuse has one, Food Stamps have one. I mean, there are giant, in my book I've got pictures of filing drawers just spewing out of all these records. Now, if they have electronic records in the departments, they don't have to get all new systems. You can actually connect them. The software exists to do that. So you can have one-stop shopping for a client, and Florida actually has it now. A person who needs services can go into a Walmart and there's a kiosk, and you can actually determine not just services available to a person, but also get eligibility. But I'm getting a little too technical here. But there's integrating services, #1. #2, connecting with communities. How can you realistically expect a caseworker in the Department of Human Services to help somebody become self-sufficiency without connecting with business? I mean, does that make any sense at all? Of course not. And yet, how often has that been done? Well, until welfare reform, it wasn't done much at all. The job there was to say, are you eligible or are you not? You cut the check or you don't cut the check. Now, the caseworkers in most states are saying, hey, this is temporary. Let's talk about getting a job. Colorado is doing a particularly weak job on that. I'll get to a chart, but Colorado, you can, at least the research I've done, or has been done by the Heartland Institute, you can sit around for a couple of years before you have to start worrying about that 5-year limit. But you need employers, you need private providers, you need the community college system for the GED, you need chambers of commerce, you need churches. The churches are where you get volunteers from. I don't care what your religion is or isn't. If you're somebody looking for volunteers, the place to go is to the church. On the ex-offender efforts in Florida, 95% of the volunteers of mentors for ex-offenders come from churches. And that's just a fact. United Way and the local government. You know, I hope your mayor's going to be here tomorrow. Is he going to be there tomorrow, Joe? And I would ask why. Not till tomorrow. But mayors can get involved, and they can make a big difference. So, the other thing you need to bring everybody together is some kind of organization. And in Illinois, we call them community federations, but they're collaboratives, and they're where these people meet periodically to exchange notes and to ask each other for help and so forth. And finally, in terms of performance outcomes, I don't think I'm going to go any further on that because I don't want to violate my laws, but state policies are very important. And you have Exhibit 5, which I'd like you to turn to. This is hot off the presses. It's one of the earliest copies. I was asked to mark the draft by the Heartland Institute, which prepared it. But this is a grant from the Casey Foundation. It's something I've always been interested in, and that is ranking the states as to how they stand, both in performance outcomes. I'm not allowed to walk around. I usually like to walk around, but this lady keeps telling me, no, you've got to come back here. And then I become like, anyway. All right. I don't know who's going to view that anyway. They're going to need help. The performance, the policies are here, across the bottom. Work requirements. If right away you start demanding and requiring work, you get an A. But if you wait around 2 years, you get what Colorado gets, an F. Cash diversion. That means instead of going on the welfare rolls, they can get some benefits and some job ideas without going on the rolls. So the rolls are a longer-term thing, up to 5 years. But maybe the need is just for some money for insurance for the car to get to work or whatever. That makes a lot of sense. There's a continuum of need here, and they weren't, until cash diversion became a policy, states weren't able to do that. Family cap provisions. This one's controversial, but there are those of us who think, like Milton Friedman thinks, that if you pay somebody for having more babies, you're going to increase the odds that they're going to have more babies. Colorado will pay you for as many babies as you want. I don't know how far it goes, but there is no family cap. Colorado is in the minority on this. Most states have family cap. I talk about both the right-wing conspiracy and the left-wing conspiracy. The left-wing demands university research before they do common sense things. But the common sense thing is not to reward people for extra babies, and that has, the average number of kids is 2.1. That 0.1 kid looks a little odd, but that, so the numbers with a lot are relatively small, but family cap, Colorado's a minority for doing this. Time limits and sanctions, Colorado could be doing better on. But Colorado, on the numbers, the rank is 37th of the 50 states, and Colorado should be doing better than that. But this will give you a snapshot. In terms of earned income tax credit, how many know what the earned income tax credit is? Well, it's important that this group over here learn what it is, because it's probably the biggest government program for low-income